This week on the Harris Highlights Show, we break down the top 25 rankings and give our biggest pick-em to date. All that and more on the Harris Highlights podcast.
Na 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 na.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Coming to you live from downtown Phoenix in Arizona State. This is the Harris Highlights Show, episode number 5. Gentlemen, I had an intermediate Spanish test today, and I don't know I did too well, and obviously you can tell why, because I'm saying 5. Let's go! Gentlemen, a very hectic week of college football came and went this week. Lots to talk about. Josh, where do you want to begin?
Oh boy, why don't we just hop right in with Arizona State?
Oh, I didn't want to be the one to bring that up, but since you did, our season's over.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point where, first of all, Dylan Sterling Cole came in at quarterback after the first drive. Manny Wilkins hurdled someone again, his third or fourth of the season? Fourth hurdle of the season. This one went for a touchdown, and it was a nice run, and at that point I thought, you know what, I think we're back.
Sorry.
Message. Can you please turn your volume on?
Sorry.
Of our great show.
It's your podcast.
And it's my mom that texted me too.
Mrs. Highlights?
Shout out to Mrs. Highlights.
We met Mrs. Highlights last week and Mr. Highlights. Very lovely.
Mr. Storage Wars.
Mr. Storage Wars. Not Storage Wars. But yeah, Arizona State, I thought they were back. I thought the offense was going, the defense was going, especially after the first quarter. I thought, you know what, guys? We have got a good team again. And then Dylan Sterling Cole came in at quarterback and couldn't complete a 10-yard pass for his life.
If there are any dads out there that are watching this show and you want your kid to get into football, watch highlights of Dylan Sterling Cole.
There are no highlights of him.
That's how to not play quarterback. In all my years, I have never seen a quarterback that looks so lost, that looks so brand new, other than Brady.
I'm saying I want to talk next.
All right, but it was awful. It was god awful. And Brady's right. There are no highlights.
You should make a how to not play quarterback highlight tape.
And use Dylan Sterling Cole.
I wouldn't trash the guy too much because he didn't get first team reps in practice throughout the week. They gave him to Jack Smith. They transferred a wide receiver over to quarterback,
who did have a completion.
One completion on the trick play. But he's a true freshman. Dylan Sterling Cole is. He wasn't really expected to play this year because they burned his red shirt.
Yes, they did. On one pass that was an interception.
He comes into this game not expecting to play, and has to take over after 3 possessions. Yes, the kid did.
I thought it was 1 possession.
It was 3 possessions. It was 3 possessions.
I know this is a Seahawk thing, but a term Pete Carroll always uses is next man up. And with any team, especially Arizona State in this case, you have to be ready to play. Dylan Sterling Cole has to be ready to play. And yeah, the guy hasn't had a ton of experience. He is a true freshman. But when you're doing so bad that you have to run the Sparky offense on first and second down and he straight up comes off the field.
From the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Too.
I mean, that's a problem. The guy's got some...
They scored on it once.
Major work
from
to
like
do.
the 50. It was a Balaj run, which was his first since UTSA, I think he told me, Brady.
Yeah.
If you look at the top 25 rankings, there is one team that's noticeably missing, and that's Houston. Houston has fallen out, and Spencer, you were very high on them a few weeks ago.
Boy.
You were too.
I remember...
I wasn't as high on them.
True. Okay.
I was high on them.
You were very high on them. It was some like Denver, Colorado kind of stuff. But
I was just...
I still remember whether it was the first session of the podcast or the second session of the podcast.
I think it was the third, actually.
Really?
I'll be completely honest, yeah.
I just remember saying that if these guys win out, they're going to the playoffs. And guess what, guys? They're not going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're not even ranked.
This loss...
And it makes me very sad, actually. It's like having a kid you believed in, and then he just didn't come through. It's just like come through with anything for sports, but it's upsetting to say the least.
After the Navy loss, they still stood a chance because I think they were ranked 12th, I want to say, and then with that Louisville game coming up, if they could have won out, they would have stood a chance. But now losing to SMU, having 2 losses, I think they're like 3rd or 4th in their own conference now. Yeah. So their season is completely done. I don't think they can make a New Year's Six bowl.
No.
I mean, after seeing Louisville, I think Louisville is just going to dismantle them. Louisville looks like a real threat, and who knows who Houston can go down to this year. So Houston can end up with 3 or 4 losses this year.
I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. As much as I gave full of praises to them at the beginning of the season, losing to Navy and then losing to SMU, who knows what damage Louisville will give to them and who else in their schedule will give to them.
Because their confidence now is shattered.
Yes.
It
is blown out of the water, and we can see it when they play football.
Oh, yeah. Guys, what are your thoughts on Houston?
Yeah, Spence took the words right out of my mouth. I thought they had a legitimate shot to compete for a playoff spot this year, especially, after that first week win against Oklahoma. They looked like they were going to kind of cruise till that Louisville game, but, they came up short against Navy. I thought they still had a chance, but, man, that SMU game was just shocking. And like I said, I think their confidence is totally gone. I think, they're not going to feel like they have much to play for anymore, and it's just, it's too bad to see. You don't usually get to see a team like that compete for a playoff spot.
Now I'm going to pose a question really quick. Do you think these 2 losses that Houston just suffered is going to be the difference maker in their coach staying or leaving next year for a potential LSU job, a potential Notre Dame job? Because everyone was saying this guy is staying for a while, but now that this team is going in who knows what direction, can this possibly lead to their coach moving on?
I'm not entirely sure. I think that he's got something going at Houston. I still think they're a good football team. They've just had 2 hiccups. That early win against Oklahoma was not a game that could go either way. It was a good game, but Houston deserved to win, and we see where Oklahoma is. Clearly not as good as we thought they were going to be, but still ranked in the top 25. So I still think this is a good football team. They had 2 hiccups, 2 major bumps in the road that have deservingly taken them out of the top 25. However, I think he's still got something going there. I think he has a good roster. However, there are some high-level jobs that are hiring. Whether or not I think USC is going to stick with Clay Helton. I think Notre Dame is probably going to get rid of Brian Kelly. But it's looking to the point where I think LSU might stick with Ed Orgeron. So I wouldn't be surprised to see. I wouldn't be surprised to see him stay at Houston.
Now, before we begin with Ohio State and Penn State, are there any teams in the top 25 or not in the top 25 that you feel are too high, too low, shouldn't be there, should be there? Josh, let's hear it.
I'm not going to lie to you guys. I think this is the first week where we have a top 25 that I can agree with. There are some teams that I don't think are good enough or plain and simple haven't played high-level teams that deserve to be in there. However, based on records, based on who some of these teams have beat, I don't have a whole lot of disagreements. I think your top 10 are pretty solid. West Virginia is a team that might be on the rise. I'm still not super hot on West Virginia. Boise State might be a little high. There are some teams. Navy might be a little high. Colorado's all right. But, there are just I'm not really disagreeing with a lot on here. The Penn State game, I understand why they're ranked 24th. I still don't think they're an amazing football team. They have 2 really good wins over, of course, Ohio State, and then they had a good deciding win against Maryland. But I don't see a whole lot of overranked or underranked teams right now. Talent-wise, there are teams that are not in the top 25, but, could deserve to be in there, but their record doesn't say it, which I can't disagree with.
Yeah, like I talked about last week, I'm still no Boise State fan. I mean, I don't need to go over all of it again, but they still haven't played any marquee teams, nor will they this season. That's just how their schedule is. But one team that I was looking at and I think is definitely way too high is Florida at 14. They have had 1 tough game so far this season, Tennessee, and they lost. Other than that, they've played no one of much relevance. No one that really poses much of a threat to them. And yeah, they've won all those games. But they're at 14 for that, and I don't understand that. Because I don't think they're that strong of a team.
I agree with Josh, and I believe what you said was almost on the dot. I think that this group of these top 25 teams is not the best that we've seen, but the most the most believable.
Yeah.
Maybe
it's not the worst.
Maybe in some different orders, some teams being thrown around too high, too low.
Yeah.
But I feel like that this is you said it best, not the worst. Not the best, obviously, but it's absolutely not the worst. And I think this is the closest that we're going to get to a true college football playoff ranking.
Now, there's a team in here where I still am so confused about, and it's from the Pac-12 and it's Utah, because they do have some very good deciding wins, especially that USC game, which could have gone either way, but they played a great game and they deserved that win.
And so you're saying that they're under or over?
That's what I don't really know, because there are some times where they look like they should be between 20 and 25, and of course I think there are some weeks where they look like they could be between 5 and 15. They're currently sitting at 17, and they're 7-1.
To me, like going off of what Lyle said, even though Boise State has not lost a game yet and Utah has lost one, I would put them above Boise State.
I would too.
Because they've played a much better competition,
Yeah.
even though their record shows them at one loss.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest problems that the Pac-12 has in general, because I know that a lot of people either agreed or disagreed with what I said about the Pac-12 being one of the better conferences. And the reason is because, especially this year, there are some teams that were supposed to be good that just simply aren't. But there are a lot of pretty good teams in the Pac-12, I think, this year. But the problem with that is they all just beat up on each other.
Yeah, because Utah's upset loss came to Cal.
Yeah.
So,
And Cal, I also think, is still a pretty good football team. But that's the problem with the Pac-12 is because, of course, like I said, ASU's injury-riddled, which might have cost them losing 3 of their last 4. But I think ASU's a good football team who just beats up themselves and others in the Pac-12. I think Cal is the exact same way that Arizona State is. I think Arizona's a terrible football team. I think that Colorado is one of those teams that can beat up on people and take some hits of their own. But I think outside of Washington and Utah, everyone just beats up on each other, and that's why there aren't more Pac-12 teams in the rankings. However, I think that with the way Washington's sitting right now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be 4th in the country, because of course they're 7-0. They're undefeated, and they're in a Power 5 conference, and they've looked really good. But then again, the teams that we thought they just smashed and deserved to be in the top 4, you look back at them now, and that's Oregon, and that's Stanford, and these are teams that are not very good this year. I'm not trying to take anything away from Washington. I'm just saying I think that their first real test comes this week to Utah.
Washington's going to be in the national championship, and Josh is going to be going, it's going to be a test, but we got to see how they're going to be playing.
If they can beat Utah, USC, and Washington State, they are without a doubt the best team in the conference. If they lose one of those games, I still think they're deserving to be in the top 4 or in the playoff.
Really quickly, the only problem with the top 25 I had this week was LSU jumping from 25 to 19. They beat a pretty crappy Ole Miss team who's now 3-4, and they jump up 6 spots. I just feel that that's unwarranted, and there are teams on the outside that do deserve to make a spot, but jumping up 6, beating a team that's 3-4.
I think beating up on an Ole Miss team was the perfect time for LSU, because I remember a few weeks ago we were saying that Ole Miss was the best 2-loss team in the country.
You said they were the best 2-loss team in the country.
Yeah, I was saying, I don't know why in the hell they're in the top 25 as of last week. And still, they're not in there anymore, but as of last week, they've been in it, and they didn't deserve to be.
And they probably have votes somehow at 3-4. I wouldn't be surprised. That's the SEC bias. But the 2 teams that we did not talk about that everyone is dying to hear about, Penn State and Ohio State.
I give full round of applause to Penn State.
Now, I'm going to give my 2 cents on the rankings right now. I think if you beat the number 2 team in the country, there is no reason to be ranked 24th. Now, I could see if Penn State would have been 2-5 after this win or 3-4. They're 5-2, and they just beat the number 2 team in the country, and they go to 24. I think that is disgraceful. I think that's a complete joke. Like I said, LSU jumped up 6 spots by beating a 3-4 team. I think Penn State should be at least somewhere in the middle teens, and also Ohio State. Come on, you go from 2 to 6. They're literally 1 or 2 wins away from being right back in the top 4. I think that's a joke. They should be at least 9 or 10th. You can't reward these powerhouse teams by giving them that number 6 ranking. Guys, what are your thoughts? First off on the rankings. We'll get into the game later, but what do you think?
I think that Penn State, it was a good win. It was a very
great
good win.
They're back on the map now.
They
Penn
beat
State.
what was Ohio State? They were number 2?
Yeah.
They beat the number 2 team in the country. Aside from that, I haven't been too impressed with them. I'm not trying to take anything away from their victory over, of course, the number 2 team in the country who was 6-0. But Ohio State's a very good football team. They've got a great offense. I think JT Barrett's still in my Heisman running behind Zane Gonzalez. But, putting them at 24, I think I'm kind of in the same boat as I am with Utah. Are they a little bit underrated or a little bit overrated? Because their 2 big wins, in my opinion, were beating Maryland, who is a team that's kind of on the rise. They're playing decent football. And then Ohio State, who's a very good team. I think those are their best 2 wins, their most convincing wins. And I don't know if that Maryland game is enough to warrant them as their second best win of the year. But I agree that they should be in the top 25. I'm just not quite sure where I let them sit.
With me, I'm kind of the same way with not knowing how I would let them sit. But looking into the future with who they have to play, they can possibly close out the season with just 2 losses. They play Purdue, Iowa, Indiana, Rutgers, and then Michigan State.
And I think any of
I
those
can see
teams
them
are...
close out going...
The only game I see them losing is Iowa, so they're going to have, I think, at most 3 losses.
It's at Penn State for Iowa, so I can see them winning against Iowa at home.
Without a
I
doubt.
can see them closing, winning all those games.
Oh,
I think it's a good input for them to start off at 24th because it only gives them more room to move up. So you don't have people in an uproar saying, "Why'd you have them at 12th when they weren't even ranked before?" At 7th, whatever. You go in at 24th.
Texas.
Yeah. You have room to move up.
Yeah.
There isn't an uproar over Penn State being 24th.
See, if you put them any higher, I would have complained.
Yes, that's why. And I think, like you said, the asterisk to the Indiana game, it's at Indiana.
Yeah.
Any home game in the Big Ten, whether it be at Purdue, who is, I think, one of the worst of the worst, or Rutgers, all the way up to Michigan and Ohio State, it's the Big Ten. It's college football, and you have crazy home field advantage. Mm-hmm. If you're the best of the best or the worst of the worst, wherever you're playing at home has that home field advantage.
Especially in the Big Ten and SEC.
Yeah.
Especially those 2 conferences.
Yeah, so I'm kind of with Josh on this one. Like, that was a good win for Penn State. Not to take anything away from them, they absolutely earned that win. But I don't know if I'm so ready to say they're legit and like a Big Ten contender yet. I mean, they did lose to Pitt, who's a very weak 5-2 in my opinion. And I just don't think they close out the season winning all those games despite having, not as strong of a schedule. That's just my 2 cents on Penn State.
I think, like I said, I think the ratings are honestly great. But we're talking about Penn State. I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on Ohio State, the number 6 rating. Is that too high? Is that too low?
That's fine.
I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
When you lose to an unranked Big Ten opponent and you're like that, you're fine.
And I still think they're going to bounce back. I still think they can easily win the Big Ten. I think they can easily win that Michigan game. So I think putting them at 6 is right where they should be.
I think they win that Michigan game and then the Big Ten championship, and they're right back in the playoffs.
That's what I'm saying.
Without a doubt.
Ohio State fans have no need to worry. But this is exciting with Ohio State losing because that does mean we have top 4 rankings that may have changed. By the sounds of it, I'm sure Ohio State might be in your guys' top 4. Who knows? Who wants to give theirs first, though, this week?
I will. I'll go.
Yay!
Number 1, Alabama, obviously. I have to respect Big Blue at number 2, Michigan. I'm going to have Washington at 3. They're going to bump up, and then Clemson at 4.
I'll go now. I got a little bit of hate last week for putting Michigan at 2, but they're at 2 again. Alabama at 1, top 2, no questions. Bama and Michigan, respectively. I like Clemson at 3. Washington at 4, I think they're deserving of their ranking. Anybody on the outside, Ohio State, Louisville are both up there. The 2 unranked team or the 2 undefeated teams that just are on the outside that haven't really shown enough to be ranked in the top 4, Nebraska and Baylor. I don't see either of them getting in the top 4, but Bama, Michigan, Clemson, Washington, I think that's pretty standard.
Okay, I've got Bama at 1. I've now actually got UW at 2 because I had them at 3 last week, behind Bama and Ohio State. And now with the Ohio State loss, I just have everybody moving up 1. So now I have UW at 2, Michigan at 3, and now Clemson at 4.
Attaboy, Lyle. You see, I was looking at the same picture, just with a little flip at the end. With me, I have Alabama at 1, no doubter. 2, I'm going to have Washington.
Ooh.
3, I'm going to have Michigan. And 4, I'm going to have Clemson.
Look, you guys keep doubting us, but they've done nothing to prove us otherwise so far.
Who is us?
And they haven't done anything to prove themselves.
I've
to
literally
us
been on
yet.
Washington's side the entire time.
No, not you.
Thank you.
I'm still blaming
But I
you.
get sometimes we get these looks when we praise Washington
Oh,
so
very
much,
much
but
so.
they've
Yeah.
blown every team out of the water.
Yes,
so
but
far.
look at the teams they've played.
Besides Arizona, that was not a great game.
I'm not taking. Yeah, the Arizona game was pretty sad, and I thought things looked up for Arizona at that point. This is the team that is good and that is deserving of a top 4 ranking. But look at the teams who they've had convincing wins against. They are all very bad football teams. Oregon and Stanford. They struggled against Arizona. This is a team that deserves to be in the top 4, but does not deserve to be any higher than 3 or 4.
Well, the great thing about this is, after this week, we can finally
After this week, yes,
make
thank you.
that decision. Now, if
Fair enough.
Washington comes out and blows Utah out of the water,
Without a doubt.
Josh is going to eat his words, and he's going to lead off the
Oh.
podcast by saying how wrong he was. But
Well, no, I'm just gonna put him in the top 3.
And if Utah wins, you boys better be ready. You boys better be ready,
I'm telling
because
you.
Josh is coming in hot.
I am.
Okay, we're turning up the heater, and he's coming in hot.
If they lose to Utah, I predict them losing to SC and Washington State.
It's going to be a dumb. I kind of agree with that. I feel like if they lose to Utah, their
Playoff
season
picture's done.
they're just going to collapse. But I feel like if they beat Utah, this team is on a mission, and they are coming. I think they are going to beat the hell out of whoever they play.
I feel like they've been on a mission since day one, and that's why they're here where they are now.
That's
They're
true.
not going to stop, and they are
But-
not going to stop their mission.
Now the question is, where are they on my rankings?
Yes, and I want to hear this.
Well, number 1, of course, I have Alabama.
He's gonna put him at 2. Watch.
Oh. Alabama's only got a few weeks left at number 1 because, as I always say, ladies and gentlemen, for the millionth time, do not sleep on Chattanooga. I'm getting tweets every day. People have been letting me know that Chattanooga is training. They are preparing. They are getting ready for this game, and I expect nothing less than a victory from my boys. Also, what even is Chattanooga? What's their team name? I just know they're Chattanooga. Do they have a team name? Or are they just Chattanooga?
I knew this. Hang on. Let me get right
Chattanooga
on this.
Choo Choo.
Let me have this. Let me have this, Brady.
How do
Brady,
we
let me
not
have
know this?
Brady, don't you do it. Don't you do it with your fancy
Well, Josh, you're not even
computer.
typing anything right now, so I expect Brady to give me the answer. What are they, Brady?
They're the mocks.
Yeah.
All right, I don't like it. I just like Chattanooga better.
Yeah, so
All right. Anyway, like I was saying, Alabama at my number 1. At my number 2, Michigan Wolverines.
Yes.
They've looked more don't get me wrong. I really like Washington, but I feel Michigan has proved a lot more this year.
Yes.
So I put
thank
Michigan
you.
at 2. At number 3, I am going to put Washington. The Huskies. I think they're an amazing team. Like I said, we will see what happens this weekend. And for my number 4 team, this is going to surprise you guys. I might receive hate. I might receive love.
Boo!
At number 4, Louisville.
I
like it. I like it.
I still think Clemson should have lost that game to NC State. And Louisville, aside from that Duke game where they were not the best, they completely annihilated NC State, who I thought was, I thought NC State deserved to be ranked last week. I think they weren't ranked last week. No. NC State was a good team, and they looked embarrassing. Lamar Jackson, we'll get to the Heisman talk later, but he is back. I know you had doubts after the Duke game, and you dropped him on your Heisman rankings. He's back. Louisville's back. I think they're going to win out. Can they? I don't know, but I do not like what I've seen from Clemson whatsoever. They beat Louisville, but do they have any convincing wins?
Louisville.
Yeah,
I think the fact that you have Louisville at 4 just tells you why I think Clemson should be in the top 4. That's just my opinion.
But then, like I said, Clemson, they lucked out against NC State. They should have lost that game. And
You did say that NC State's a pretty good team, though.
Yeah, and Louisville annihilated them.
Yeah.
Clemson barely beat Troy. Like I said, agree to disagree. I get the whole thing where Clemson beat Louisville, but I think Louisville is just overall looked better.
The way that you're saying and the thing that I'm saying, I don't think that either of us are wrong.
That's the thing, we're both right.
Wasn't it you that was preaching that Troy got votes last week?
Troy got 1 vote last week, but Clemson still beat them by a few points. All right, gentlemen, I am very interested in hearing your top 5 Heismans. I am sure that they've switched around this week. Who knows? But let's hear them. Lyle, I want to hear you go first this week.
Okay, so last week I had Seth Russell at 5. Baylor had a bye this week. So this week I still have Russell at 5, but it's a tie between him and Donnell Pumphrey from San Diego State. I don't know
Really?
if he's been on any of our Heisman watches
He was
yet.
mine the very first episode. He was my number 2 pick.
I mean, I think
Yes,
it's time for the guy
Lyle.
to get some love.
Yes.
He's
Then
gone
they lost to South
off.
Alabama.
But that doesn't change the fact that he's gone off this season. But anyway, I have Trevor Knight at 4. Slipped a little bit in that loss to Bama. That was a pretty tough game. JT Barrett at 3. I had him at 1 last week. I dropped him down to 3 after that Penn State game. Jake Browning is now at 2 for me. The guy has 30 touchdowns on the season. Yeah, high five.
Nice.
30 touchdowns on the year.
And he only has a few interceptions.
Yeah, really. I mean, he's deserving of the spot for sure. And then, man, Lamar Jackson, you must be listening to this podcast because you were definitely listening last week when I dropped you off my number 1 for my Heisman rankings. And then you came back and just torched NC State. So, congrats. You're back at number 1 for me this week. You've been, you proved me wrong. You're back on the number 1 spot on the Heisman stage.
My Heisman picks. All right, so I'm going to start off, obviously, with the man, the myth, the legend, Lamar Jackson. He was my number 1 last week. He snapped, remains number 1. Number 2, JT Barrett fell for me. The loss hurts him, so I'm going to replace him, switch it up with Jake Browning. Snaps like always. And then number 3, JT Barrett only falls 1 spot, no big. 4, Jabril Peppers. He's my boy, I follow. Then 5, Donnell Pumphrey. I love him a lot.
He's my boy. I follow.
He's my boy, I follow him. I like him a lot. I like the way.
Very underrated. I like that. And he's also, I think, number 8 now all time in rushing yards. or
Exactly.
9th. So he's moving up there.
He's moving up the list.
Oh,
He's not getting as much as attention as
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought he would be. But I feel like as the season progresses, his name will become more used.
Oh, without a doubt.
My number 1, I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson. I think he's jumped his way back to the top. Number 2, Jake Browning. Number 3, Joe Thomas Barrett, better known as JT. 4, Jabril. I'm a big Jabril Peppers fan and have been preaching him for a while. Number 5, I'm going to toss up on number 5. I honestly don't know who my 5th spot's going to be.
Well, throw him up in the air and see which one you catch.
I like Spencer's Darnell. I like his number 5. I like that.
It's not Darnell, it's Donnell.
Donnell.
Now,
So, let me just spark some controversy here outside of number 1, because we all know that's
Of course.
Lamar Jackson. At 2, I'm going to stick with JT Barrett. I like JT Barrett at number 2. I haven't seen too much to make him fall from my number 2 spot. Still not a big fan of Ohio State. Still think they're a good football team. Still like JT Barrett. At number 3, I'm going to go with Trevor Knight. I see a huge bounce back this week after the Bama game. He was getting pounded a lot. He was getting tossed around. After that, I have Seth Russell for Baylor. I really like what Baylor's doing offensively. And I really like Seth Russell. And then 5, I have Jake Browning with Washington.
At my number 5, I have JT Barrett, and this is why. Ohio State had the ball with, I believe, a minute and a half, 2 minutes left in that game, only down by a field goal.
right.
If JT Barrett was the Heisman, not favored, but as high as everyone has, he would have led Ohio State down that field, and they would have won the game. But they didn't. So I'm dropping him low for that one. So I'm putting him at number 5. At number 4, I like this guy, Seth Russell. But the second the Baylor loses, he goes out. He's done. At number 3, I got Jabril Peppers. It's a very bold strategy, Cod, and we'll see how it pays off. But I think that he just looks so good, and Michigan just looks so good. Like Brady has mentioned in previous weeks, if any defensive player is going to win the Heisman, it's going to be Jabril Peppers because he is an absolute animal.
Adoree Jackson. I know where this is going, but go ahead, Blake. Read us your number 2.
At number 2, I got Jake Browning. Lyle already said the stat. 30 touchdown passes. I want to say he has 3 interceptions. He might have 2. He's looked dominant. This week will be a major test for him because this is going to be his very first actual week against a somewhat decent team. So it depends how he plays. But as of right now, he's my number 2. And once again, my number 1 has not changed. Arizona State kicker Zane Gonzalez. I'm really upset because I was at the game this week, and they're showing people on the Jumbotron, and they showed this one guy in the stands that has a Zane for Heisman sign.
Just stealing our ideas like this?
Or he saw our
This guy must
Did
be.
you know that it's not right to steal people's ideas?
This guy must be a listener of the podcast because. And the worst part is, Zane acknowledged this guy. This random guy that probably knows nothing about him gets a retweet, a favorite from Zane Gonzalez himself. Meanwhile, we're over here his biggest fans, and we're not getting any love aside from that one tweet that Brady got like last week. Zane had another great game. I think, what was it, 3 PATs he made? They looked beautiful. About a 30-something yard field goal. He was quiet, but he looked great. Zane Gonzalez for Heisman. Number 5 on the field. Number 1 in our hearts. Now, guys, speaking of love, let's throw some love to the best uniforms from this past week.
Yes.
All right, boys, who do you got this week? Whose uniforms look fresh and beautiful and pretty? Let's hear it.
Well, I thought that ASU and Washington State had good uniforms. I liked Colorado's, but I can't use them. And I liked Maryland's again. The blackout was great. However, I'm going to go with Army. I love the logo, how they have the Spartan warrior helmet with the sword, but the uniforms in general, or they're like a charcoal gray with the gold helmet, I really like those. I really like all of Army's uniforms. I like Navy's too, but I'm going to have to go with Army this week. I really like Army.
I really like Kentucky's uniforms this week. The cool black with the royal blue, the checkered on the side. I was really a big fan of those this week.
I like Toledo's. Toledo had some really cool uniforms. They had all matte, sort of that dark navy blue with a gold outline in the numbers. What was really cool was their helmet. It was a metallic helmet, and it went from blue, and it was a gradient down to their gold on there. Really cool uniforms by them. Really good use of the gradients.
I'll have to go with Oregon.
No.
I like Oregon's colors. With the white jerseys, green letters. I like this.
So bad.
I like this without even ranking them. I like this a lot. I like the chrome matte, and I don't even know what to call that helmet, but it's really nice. I like it.
Awful.
Cincy also had some really cool ones too.
They did. My favorite team, maybe just because I've been hopping on the bandwagon for weeks, Western Michigan. It was just the regular uniform, but they had the breast cancer awareness ribbon on it. And I thought that was pretty cool. I like that.
Did you see SMU's? They had the pink Mustang on the side.
I did. I like those. But I really like the Western Michigans because I just like seeing pink. Like when Oregon wore those pink uniforms years ago.
Those were cool.
Though I like those. I like doing
Josh
that kind of
probably didn't.
Josh probably hated
okay.
them. But I like
just
Western
don't like their
Michigans.
uniform.
Now, guys, it is that time of week again where we answer questions from the fans.
Yes!
Now, this week is going to be easier on us because we only have 130 comments.
As
opposed to last week where I think we had 196 or something.
Well, you guys took it easy on us. Thank you.
Let's try to...
No, more.
Caleb wants to know, can Oregon make it to a bowl game?
I think that's all we need to say.
We say no.
Emmett of Awesomeness wants to know,
That's a cool name.
How does Penn State's win over Ohio State change the program's momentum for the future?
Well, I think I just answered that question a couple minutes back.
I think this is huge for Penn State because ever since Mr. What's his name, I refuse not to say what his name is on this show because we are better than that here at Harris Highlights.
Yeah.
Penn State has been looking for that statement victory. They've been looking for that statement somewhat decent season, and they have finally found it this year.
Thumbs up. We're not making a joke about it, Blake.
Thumbs up. Kobe Bryant, #Mamba, #8, #24. Josh, I'm going to give you 15 seconds to answer this one.
You gave me 30 last week. You will give me 30
This is about
again.
an individual
No,
player.
because we have multiple USC questions we have to ask this week, okay? Do you think Juju Smith is overrated?
Give him a second.
All right, Josh, 15 seconds. Ready, go.
I think that Juju Smith-Schuster is, if not the best, one of the top 3 wide receivers in the country. No, he's not overrated. 7 seconds. Look at that. 7 seconds.
I'm impressed.
Let's go.
I'm with you on that one, though. Juju Smith-Schuster, in my opinion, is the best receiver in the country.
Is West Virginia for real?
Maybe.
For now, yeah. For now, yeah, but in the long term, I'm going to say no because they're really tough games come at the back end of their season. So we're going to have to wait and see how those play out.
I think they play 4 or 5.
They'll lose to Oklahoma.
1, 2. They play 3 ranked teams 3 weeks in a row. Oklahoma, Iowa State, and Baylor. They'll lose 2 or 3 of those.
I think they're going to go 2 out of 3, and their only loss is going to come to Baylor.
I think they go 1 out of 3.
They're beating Oklahoma, and they're beating Iowa State, but sadly they lose to Baylor. Big Mountaineer
West Virginia fan, though?
I like what they're doing.
Add to the list.
Yes or no? Will Michigan give Michigan State a butt whooping?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna say no, just because I don't want to be one of the crowd.
Just because he doesn't want to sign with Josh. I caught his hat.
I'm only saying
that would have made it on your head.
I'm saying no because it's Michigan versus Michigan State, and every year, no matter how bad or how good the teams are, that game is just fun to watch.
Last year,
I could agree with you.
All the more reason I think Michigan's going to kill them this year. They're going to
Yeah.
to want some revenge for that game.
So I agree with Spence that anything could happen, but then again, I also agree with Lyle and think that Michigan's going to whoop on them.
Which one-loss team appears to have the best chance at winning the national championship? P.S. Love the show.
Ohio State.
Thank you. Ohio State.
Undoubtedly Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State. They're
Florida?
chilling, I think.
Florida?
No. Chance. I have them way overranked in my...
See, Louisville also is a one-loss team, but I think if they make it into the playoff, I don't think they compete with Alabama or Michigan or even Ohio State or Washington. I think they could compete with
I want to
Washington.
see Louisville versus Bama. That would be an amazing game. Going back to Michigan State, Levy wants to know what happened to Michigan State this season. I honestly don't know.
No quarterback leader. Connor Cook has been a leader. Granted, he wasn't a captain. I've ranted about this multiple times. Josh, we've talked about this a lot. Now we all have. But they don't have a true quarterback leader where Connor Cook was their starting quarterback for, I think, 3 seasons. So he had that leadership mentality, and now their quarterback is obviously the leader of any team on the offensive and defense side of the ball. So I think without that leadership at quarterback, that's what's causing him to struggle.
I think that Connor Cook was an on-field leader, not off the
Yes.
field, which is why he wasn't a captain. And right now, I don't think they have an on- or off-field leader.
Also, they lost a massive amount of guys because
They
either
did.
they were seniors or to the draft. So that was part of it, too.
This is a very good question that comes from Gilbert. It's kind of a long one, so brace with me. If Florida wins out the rest of the season to get to the SEC championship game, do they stand a shot against Bama? Because Alabama has always been beatable in the past until they lose that one game. And after Alabama loses that one game, they very, very, very rarely lose again. And if they lose to Florida, does that automatically give Florida a playoff spot?
There's a lot of questions to answer.
See, now
So pretty much does Florida stand a shot at making it to the playoff, I think is his question.
that's a really long shot because that's one saying, you have to go and not lose any game of the season left.
But they're in the
Two-
weaker half of the SEC, so I think they will go undefeated the rest of the season.
I don't think they will.
Really?
I don't even think they get past Georgia this week, to be honest.
Oh,
And then that's also saying
Easy.
you
The
beat
return of Nick
Alabama.
Chubb has been huge for Georgia, by the way.
And that's saying that they won and beat Alabama. And I don't think
God.
Alabama's going to lose a game this season.
I think
You heard it here, folks. Alabama is not losing a game this season.
I think you're the only person in the world that thinks that.
No way. I bet he is the only person on this planet that thinks that.
I bet you're right.
You heard it here first.
Eric Valencia wants to know, what will be Boise State's biggest challenge be to keep them undefeated? San Diego State or whatever team they meet in the bowl games? And if they lose once, will they still be in the New Year's Bowl? To answer that really quickly,
They're not going to
no.
the New Year's Bowl.
Well, if they go undefeated, yes, they will be in the New Year's Bowl. If they lose at any point this season, their whole season's done. But really quickly, P.S. I love your show, Blake. Been watching your highlights for 2 years now. Keep it up.
Nice.
Thank you, Eric Valencia. Here, we love you and thank you for the question, but we're sorry. If Boise State goes down, they're done.
I'm going to ask you one of these questions on here. AJ asks us, do you like Louisville or only Lamar Jackson?
I like Louisville.
I like Lamar Jackson.
You like Louisville, but can you name another player outside Lamar?
Exactly.
No, but I
The
like
guy, whose
There you
the
go.
guy whose last name is Samuel, because with the second game, his last name was Samuel, and Lamar Jackson were standing next to each other, said Samuel L. Jackson.
Shaq Wiggins and Jamari Staples. Shout
I
out
know-
to those guys,
well,
my homies.
I know James Quick because he cost Louisville their one loss because he ran out of bounds.
This comes from Nate for Heisman, and I really like this question. Thoughts on the playoff mix-up, and who makes it in if West Virginia, Washington, and Louisville win out?
Good Lord. Oh, boy.
What happens, do you think, if those three teams win out?
Wait, so what were the three teams again?
Washington,
West Virginia,
Louisville, and West Virginia.
yeah, West Virginia, Washington, and Louisville. If they all win out the rest of the year, who do you think gets screwed over?
Well, I don't think more than
West Virginia is going to get screwed over. They're not going to make it.
I think
I
it
don't West
is.
Virginia makes
I don't
it
think so either. But I don't think more than one team is going to win out. It just never happens.
But what if it does?
Well, yeah, but
We're
look
halfway
about
through the year. Teams are going to lose.
yeah, but look at the teams they brought up. They brought up Louisville. They brought up West Virginia, and who was the last team? again?
Washington.
It was Washington. None of those three teams play each other, and none of those three teams will go on and play Alabama, Michigan. So I think that if Washington wins out and wins the Pac-12 championship, there's no reason to not have them in the playoff. I think Bama makes the playoff. I think Michigan makes the playoff. And I'm going to go ahead and say that I think Clemson makes the playoff.
See, I was gonna save this for the pick'ems, but I'll just bring this up right now because this is a very, very good question. Clemson, I do not think Clemson is going to be in the top 4 when it's all said and done because I think they lose to Florida State this weekend. I honestly think that Florida State's going to beat Clemson this week, and Clemson's season is just going to be a nice, slow downfall from them.
Seriously.
So I feel that they're going to slip out, which leaves room then for potentially a Louisville to slip in there. And we'll see how that Michigan-Ohio State game goes because then West Virginia can slip in there.
Question.
Yes.
Is it at Tallahassee?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
Exactly. So,
I can
That's a
see
rough
it happening.
And
environment down there
I
in
can see it
Tallahassee, especially
happening.
for the
if
Clemson game.
Michigan can not destroy, but have a convincing win against Ohio State, and West Virginia, Washington, and Louisville win out, that's a very good question, Nate, for Heisman. I like it. Keep it up. Thoughts on Western Michigan? # row the boat. I think I said this 3 or 4 weeks ago. Maybe it was the first or second week when they weren't even ranked. And someone said, like, who's your sleeper team that's undefeated? And I said Western Michigan. And everyone was like, Western Michigan? Well, they're not going to lose the game the rest of the season. Their schedule is, I mean, it's fairly easy.
If the host said it, it must be true.
That's true. I think they're a very good team, but the conference they play in, tough to decide. Guys, what do you think about Western Michigan really quickly?
Undefeated.
They're a nice Cinderella story, but I don't think they make a New Year's Six bowl even if they...
No chance.
They're not going to make a New Year's Six, but they'll win out.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to ask you guys a question. This is one that we've talked about off the air a lot because obviously we go here. Carter Dog 15 asks, what's your favorite Arizona State play of all time? I'm going to start this off because I think it's kind of pretty obvious. Josh, you hate seeing this, but you kind of have to admit it's one of the best. Mm-hmm. Was the Jail Mary, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, I was there.
The Jail Mary 2 years ago when Mike Bercovici threw that Hail Mary to Jalen Strong right into stride, right into his hands for the game winner. That's probably the best.
Never happened, but I think it's one of the best. But my favorite, I'm not saying it's not the best. I think it is. But my favorite was another game that I was at, and probably a little more incentive being an ASU and a USC fan, was the Balaj Scrum, which turned
awesome.
Balaj's name into a verb. You just got Balajed as he ran, 25 or 30 yards to not only put the game away against UCLA, but run over about 4 people and score a touchdown.
Was that the one where he was backwards?
Backwards half the time.
And they were carrying. Yeah.
That was unreal to watch. To just slowly go further and further across the field. That was wild. At the Rose Bowl. To beat the number 7 team in the country.
I'm going to stay on the Balaj train with you on this one, but a little different is, for me, it was that second game of the year that we were at, and he scored 8 touchdowns in the game. That was unreal. I mean, we could all go to another, 500 college football games, and we probably wouldn't see that happen again. A running back that scores 8 touchdowns in a game, I mean, that was unheard of. That was my favorite game.
That was great, Lyle. I agree with that.
Oh, Lyle. You've been on my side this whole session, then yet somehow you steal my picks. I was going to say that.
So why wouldn't you guys be on the same page then? Why that makes...
I wanted to say it first.
Get over it. You guys are in agreement. I'm sorry. I've hated on you.
Yeah,
just hold my hand.
God, what
just
kind of
hold my
Haterade
hand.
are you drinking today?
Hater or am I drinking?
Haterade.
Haterade.
So
What
Florida's
did I
winning
say?
out?
Hater.
I'm pretty sure I said Haterade.
You said a hater.
Anyway,
Bill Hater?
I've only been an Arizona State fan for 3 months, so I really have only so many plays I can choose from, but I want to choose one where I've actually been a fan. But without a doubt, the number one Arizona State play that I've seen, or probably in the history of the program, is Zane Gonzalez setting the NCAA field goal record. That is the greatest play I've ever seen live. It was unbelievable. It'll go down in the books. Probably Harris Highlights top 100 number one play when it's all said and done.
I wasn't even there.
What are your thoughts on Patrick Mahomes? He set the single game record. He can ball, but it is the Big 12. So,
Wait. How does Baker Mayfield go off, 100% off, win the game, and still get outshadowed?
Because he didn't
Patrick
throw
Mahomes.
for 800. Patrick Mahomes, I think it was he threw 93 passes that game.
Oh my god.
Well, that's what Texas Tech does. They only pass the ball.
And not just Baker Mayfield, but Joe Mixon ran for 377 yards and had 5 touchdowns, and no one talked about that.
I didn't even know that until you just said it. That's how great Patrick Mahomes played in that game, to outshadow both of them. I mean, that's pretty much their entire offense right there. just Baker Mayfield and Mixon. That's wild.
By the way, so far this season, through 7 games, Mahomes has 3,313 passing yards.
However,
For 26 touchdowns and 6 interceptions.
See, he's very good. He's got a great receiving core. They didn't play enough good teams early on for him to be considered in the Heisman run.
Well, because they lost.
They lost. And he also plays in a conference where there's absolutely no defense whatsoever. That's what I think is keeping him out of the Heisman run. But I think that's something to toss up now that we're talking about it. Him and Seth Russell, I think, are very similar quarterbacks. Well, ask
and
another one.
This is a great one, and he wants to know if Zane Gonzalez, in some crazy way, does not win the Heisman, then who will?
Matt Hawk.
I'm just going to answer that really quick. Well, Matt Hawk is a very good sleeper pick, but my man, Zane's winning the Heisman.
Carlson from Auburn.
There is...
Shut up.
Get out.
There is no way that Zane loses the Heisman. It's his to lose.
Videos.
The bells are ringing. It is time.
Ding, ding.
And once again, no, Josh, it is not you ringing the bells. Spencer's about to hit the dab right now, and that means it is officially time for the Pick'em.
Oh, damn.
It's at that time of week where you choose games to pick from, where we all make outrageous picks. Well, I mean, I'm the one that makes outrageous picks because I go against everyone else and pick the teams that aren't projected to win. I don't know what the hell that was.
Your
but
video.
My video. But the question is, how are the rankings doing this week? All right, now as I mentioned, we do keep track of the Pick'em scores, and it breaks my heart to say we do have a new leader this week. Now, I don't really classify him as a leader because I literally picked the opposite picks last week just to make the show somewhat interesting because all of you guys
Sounds like a you problem.
all of you guys picked the same exact teams, and I'm still only down by 2, but the new leader is Lyle with 27 points. Enjoy it while it lasts, buddy, because I'm coming for you this week, whether you like it or not. In second is yours truly with 25. In third, we have a tie between Spencer
I'm not losing.
and Josh
God
with
damn.
23, which means Brady.
Yes.
I had a good week last week.
Brady, you are in last with 21, but I did add a few extra games this week where hopefully you can bounce back and
how
make
many
a
points?
comeback. High five.
How many points do Spencer and I have?
23.
Good, I made a comeback. I had a pretty good week last week.
All right, gentlemen,
I
usually
did
we
not.
do 10 games, but I figured let's add a few more this week, so we're going to do the unlucky 13.
Ooh.
Let's
God, we're
start
gonna
it
get
off.
Every game wrong. Even if you pick it right, it's wrong.
Let's start things off. Number 25, Virginia Tech, who is 5-2, at 5-2, Pittsburgh. Guys, Brady.
I'm going to say Virginia Tech on this one. They've been talked about. Ow, Spencer, you're crushing my foot with a chair. Virginia Tech, I'm going to win this. They're going to win this one. They've been talked about for being overrated. 5-2 versus 5-2, even though it's at Pitt. VT's going to win this one.
Like I said earlier, I don't think Pitt's a very strong 5-2 team. I like Virginia Tech in this game.
I'm going to disagree with Lyle and say that I think Pitt is a good team, and I think it'll be a good game. Don't sleep on them, but I, too, am going to take Virginia Tech.
I'm going to take a switch. I'm going to do Pitt. Home field advantage is going to mean a lot in this game, and I'm going to take Pitt.
Spencer, I like what you did there. You have balls, and that's what the show needs for these pick'ems. Great job, but unfortunately, I got to go with Virginia Tech. The funny thing is, if you would have taken Virginia Tech, I would have taken Pitt. But sadly, I didn't. But hey, bro, I really like that pick. I could see Pitt get in this game because, like you mentioned, home field advantage is key. So we'll see how that goes. Number 22, Navy, at a team I mentioned earlier who I feel should be ranked, South Florida.
I'm going to say this one. I'm going to go with the upset. I say South Florida is going to win this game at home.
I like that one.
I think, again, don't sleep on this team, South Florida, but I am going to go with Navy. I like Navy in this one.
I'm going to go with Navy 2 in this game.
I'm going to have to go with Navy on this one.
Well,
Go Bulls.
you guys know who I'm going with in this one. I said they should have been ranked. I like them at 6-2. South Florida upsets Navy. Number 10, West Virginia at Oklahoma State. Now, this can be a trap game for West Virginia. Oklahoma State, not ranked, 5-2, very easily should be 6-1 after that Hail Mary thing against Central Michigan. Guys, is West Virginia going down this week, or is Oklahoma State going to prove that they are a good team?
I think Oklahoma State is a decent team. I think Mason Rudolph's actually a decent quarterback, but I think West Virginia is going to be too much in this game. I'm going to go with the Mountaineers for this one.
I want to see Oklahoma State win this game, but I don't think they're going to, so I'm going to take the Mountaineers.
I'm going to take West Virginia. It's the clear-cut winner for me.
Clear.
Brady?
Are you serious?
I am.
West Virginia, dude. Come on.
Yeah, this is the time.
Clear cut.
This is the point of show where I just go against you guys, but I just think West Virginia is too good, and I think they're going to beat Oklahoma State. So I'm going to go with the Mountaineers on this one. Cincinnati at Temple.
Both 3-loss teams.
Yep.
I like Temple at home, 5-3. I like what Cincinnati's doing. I like their uniforms, but uniforms aren't enough to win football games, which is why I'm going to take Temple at home.
I like Cincy in this game.
Yeah, I'm a big Cincy guy, so I say Bearcats going to win this one.
I'm going to say Temple. Home field advantage strikes yet again.
This game was the toss-up, so I just determined it off of who I've made a highlight for. I made one for Cincinnati, so Chris Moore, wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens. This one's for you. I'm going with Cincinnati with the win at Temple. Texas Tech at TCU.
I don't think Mahomes throws for 900 yards again, but
Throws for 1,000.
But I think Texas Tech wins this game.
Yeah, Texas Tech's only 3-4, and it's going to be at TCU. It's only 4-3, not a big difference. But I really like their offense, and there's no defense in this conference, so that's why I'm going to take Mahomes and the Raiders.
I'm going against you guys. I'm going purple right here. I'm going to go TCU in this one.
Ooh, you and me both, brother.
Woo!
Texas Christian.
I like Texas Tech still. I think every time I pick Texas Tech, they've lost, so I'm just going to keep doing this until they finally win a game. And Josh and Spencer are about to fight, right? And the hats have come off.
Tally for how many times I've flipped Spencer's hat today.
Woo! Teamwork right there.
Alley-oop!
Now, this is a fun one because these are two teams that everyone supports here at the table. Maryland at Indiana.
You guys go ahead.
I'm going to go first.
Okay.
Balls.
I'm going to go second.
I'm going fourth.
I'm going to say Maryland is the better team. Indiana may beat Michigan State, but we all know that Michigan State is not that much of a good team. So even with Indiana being at home, I'm still going to pick Maryland.
I'm going to agree with Spencer, and shout out LA Kings overtime victory. I am going to go with Spencer, and I'm going to take Maryland. I like Maryland, almost went there, and I have them
Almost
over
only counts in
Indiana.
horseshoes and hand grenades, my friend.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm not at that school.
There you go.
I didn't want to get hit by any hand grenades.
Or horseshoes.
Yeah.
I like the Hoosiers in this game. I think they're better than what the record says. I'm going IU.
I'm going IU in this one. I mean, come on, obviously. Richard Lego's back. Dan Feeney. They're keeping Richard Lego at quarterback. Dan Feeney, their All-American left tackle, is playing again this week. They've got some trouble at the wide receiver core, but the running back game has been very strong. I'm saying Hoosiers in this one. At home.
Ooh, see, this is a tough one. I have Indiana on here, but now I need to make a comeback and take Lyle out. So do I go with who I think is going to win, or I do the strategic route?
You say what's ever in your heart and on your phone.
Fine. I'm going to go with Indiana. High five. All right, Miami at Notre Dame.
High five. All right.
That's 12.
I'm going to go with something that Josh said last week when we were picking ASU. He didn't pick ASU, but he said, prove me wrong. Well, I'm going with Miami and Brad Kaya, but Deshaun, Brian Kelly, Notre Dame, for the love of God, prove me wrong, boys. Come on.
For the love of God and touchdown Jesus, prove me wrong.
Yep. Guys, who's winning this game?
Spence?
Oh, boy. I might shock you guys here. I'm picking Notre Dame.
Wow, I go Miami and Spencer goes Notre Dame. Who would have thought?
I'm picking Notre Dame only because of superstition. The past 2 times I've picked Miami, they've taken the L. So I'm kind of going backwards here, and I'm taking Fighting Irish.
Brady?
I like Miami in this game. I think they're going to come into South Bend and bring a hurricane to South Bend. Ha 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 ha.
I think that it's going to be a close game. I think Notre Dame is gonna show up a little bit. However, they're going to be 2-6 after this game because Miami's going to win it.
I'm not picking them until they prove to me that they can actually win a game. So, like I said earlier, Miami.
Well, Lyle, I think next week you're going to be able to pick Notre Dame because I have them beating Miami this week. I think this is the start of something new, and it feels so right
Still
to be
not
here
going
with
to
you. High School Musical reference right there, but I have them taking the dub. UConn at East Carolina.
Taking the Pirates.
I like UConn. I didn't.
Why did you
think
put
they
this
played-
not at the worst of the worst?
Because
there's a worser game.
Yeah, Arizona State and Oregon's a better
Worse.
game. Yeah, but I think
Shia LaBeouf.
Why?
What the hell was that? Ooh.
Can I make my pick? I'm going to go with UConn just because they've played more games and they have one more win. They played 8. East Carolina's played 7. I like the Huskies in this
Great
one.
analysis.
I like UConn in this game.
I like UConn.
Screw it. I'm picking East Carolina.
Yeah.
Woo. This is a good one. Number 4, Washington at number 17, Utah.
Ugh.
All right, I'll start.
I'll
I
follow.
think you guys know what I'm gonna say.
You
Jake
know.
Browning, Miles Gaskin, that defense. The Huskies are gonna be too much to handle. I like UW.
Sports.
Jake Browning right now is my number 2 Heisman watch, and he's going to prove it. Watch Washington.
I don't want to go yet.
I don't either.
Well, I always go last. That's my rule.
I'm
Blake
gonna
used to always go
I'm
first.
gonna go with the home field advantage and the second or third best conference in all of college football. I'm gonna say Utah will hand Washington their first and only loss of the season.
I like it.
I'm going to go with number 17, Utah, solely for the purpose that this game is in Salt Lake City. Prove me wrong, UW. Again, prove me wrong. If you can do it, you have a playoff spot.
Well,
in
on
my
this
opinion,
one,
as of right now.
I highlighted it on this thing, and I have Utah beating Washington.
Wow.
It's nothing against Washington. I'm not going to be surprised if Washington wins 40-0. But going to Utah to play a game, as we saw with SC, is a tough thing to do. SC could have won that game, but winning at Utah is a very tough task. That is, according to Paul McClure, my good buddy, he said it's the toughest place to play in the Pac-12, without a doubt.
I agree.
So I feel like that place is going to be rocking. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they have College Game Day this week.
They do.
They do. So that place is going to be lit. And I have Utah winning the game. I think they do it. But like I said, I'm not going to be surprised if Washington comes out and wins by 40+.
I want UW to win this game, and the reason is because my 2 favorite teams are in the Pac-12 South, so somebody needs to beat Utah. But again, Salt Lake City.
And I would like to see Washington win to go undefeated. Only a few left. Number 7, Nebraska. At number 11, Wisconsin.
Someone commented that every time someone talks about the Huskers on the show,
Go
they
Big
say
Red.
Go Big Red. So again, I'm going to say Go Big Red on the road.
I'm going to go with Wisconsin because their only 2 losses have come against Michigan by 7 and against Ohio State in overtime. And like I said earlier, Nebraska hasn't had much of a test yet. I think Wisconsin takes this game.
I say Wisconsin's going to take this one, despite the fact that they have had some quarterback situational troubles. I think they've been running a 2-quarterback system, so that could be a big thing going against this very talented Nebraska team. Nebraska is the real deal right now, but I think Wisconsin's going to win this one.
As much as I love Nebraska's 7-0 run right now, I can see Wisconsin then taking it to them.
I think Wisconsin's going to win this game as well, single-handedly. Number 3, Clemson. At number 12, Florida State. You guys already know my view on this game, and I'm just going to lead it off. Florida State gets this.
You always go last.
I know, but this one, I have to. My rules.
No.
Here's highlights, see check. I think Florida State beats Clemson in this game. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like I said, I'm not impressed with Clemson. Florida State's looked better in recent weeks. They, in all honesty, should be 6-1 perhaps. I got them winning.
I'm going to take Clemson in this game. I think they bounce back, and another big thing for them is they're getting Wayne Gallman back this week, so that could be a huge key for them. So I'm going to go with the Tigers.
Took the words right out of my mouth, Lyle. I'm going to go with Clemson.
As much as I can see Florida State doing it by beating Clemson.
Shot!
Come on, you want to do it.
5.
Do it. Spencer, do it.
All right, I'll take the
Do-
Seminoles.
Yes!
I'll take the Seminoles.
There we
doing it.
go. I love it.
I'm going the Tigers. Go Clemson.
Because home field advantage is going to be key.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute key. And Tallahassee is going to be jumping.
And they always play each other very well.
Yes, they
It's
do.
a tough matchup for both teams.
Francois.
It'll be a really good game.
It will be.
I have a game, real quick, we have to talk about. Last week, our Chattanooga Mockingbirds, go Mocs, came out victorious against VMI, Virginia Military
Shocker.
Institute, 30-13.
No, I'm not
They
surprised.
against Western Carolina this week. At Western Carolina,
They're a
do you
good team.
think the boys of Chattanooga can go out and win this game?
I'm going to go with Chattanooga.
Yep.
Chattanooga.
Does this count for one of the picks?
Yes.
Yes.
Chattanooga.
What?
Chattanooga!
Thank you.
Chattanooga.
You said Western Carolina.
I did say Western Carolina.
I'll be honest. I don't think that Chattanooga gets this victory this week. I know they get the victory this week, and Chattanooga is going to continue this dynasty, and they're going to get the
By
dub.
the way, Chattanooga is ranked number 8.
I'm telling you guys, don't overlook them because they're coming. They are coming. That's going to be a great goddamn.
Go Mocs.
I can't wait. Let's go, Mocs. And now that brings us to
Let's go, Mox.
the worst of the worst. The worst game of the week that we have to decide whether or not we want to watch it or not. We most likely won't. We don't know who's going to watch this game, but people will be, and that is between Louisiana Monroe at 2-5, at Arkansas State at 2-4. Guys, who is going to win this game?
Well, I have something like this every week. Not as great as last week, but one of my best friend's dad lives in a town called Monroe. So I'm going to go with Louisiana Monroe gives up less points on defense through 4 quarters than Arkansas State.
That's good analysis.
To me, no doubter. In my mind, Louisiana Monroe.
Oh.
So I want to say Arkansas State just because I've seen them play in person and they're one of the bad teams that for
They
some
also have
reason
one
I
of
see
the
on TV.
greatest plays in college football history when that guy played dead and he just fell.
Oh, yeah.
He just fell. One of the greatest all-time greats.
That's great, but you know what? I like the fact that Louisiana Monroe's mascot is a warhawk. Is it not a warhawk?
I believe it is.
Pretty sure it's a warhawk. So I think that sounds pretty dope. So I'm gonna go with Louisiana Monroe, and they've played more games, so I think they have a little bit more experience.
But they have more losses.
Yeah, but it's more playing experience.
Okay.
I'm going to go Louisiana Monroe because why the hell not? Ta-da!
Shot.
Well, I'm surprised with this because, and I'm not just going against you guys. I had Arkansas State highlighted on my pick'em, so I'm going to keep that pick, and I'm going to go with Arkansas State at home. Which brings us to the final pick'em of the week. As we do every week, we end it with Arizona State. This week they travel to Eugene, Oregon. Brady, you're going to be at this game for Blaze Radio taking photos. Unfortunately, I will not be in attendance this week because I waited too long to get my Southwest ticket, and it skyrocketed, tripled the price. So unfortunately, here at Harris Highlights, I'm not making any money, so I will not be making the trip. So yeah, Brady will be at the game. We'll all be watching from the confines of Josh's room on his television.
Better not be in my bed.
Oh,
I guess we've decided we're watching from the
I already
room.
called dibs on your bed, Brady. Guys, who's going to win this game between Arizona State and the Oregon Ducks?
Yeah, I'm going to be at this game, broadcasting this one for Blaze Radio. And I say that Arizona State's going to win this one. They're actually favored in this game right now by 7.5 points as of Tuesday night, which, whatever today's date is, the 25th of October, 2016. BC.
All right.
No. I think ASU is going to win this one. They're favored. Oregon's been playing like the best word I can use to describe it is shit show. So I think Oregon's been playing very poorly. They have a lot of injuries, even more than ASU, actually.
They do.
So ASU is going to win this game.
All right.
On the road.
Well, I think Brady's told us watch out for the uniforms, and
That's
we
right.
all know,
Keep an eye.
We all know that Oregon is famous for their uniforms.
Are they really?
I think they are the worst uniforms in the country.
Wow.
And which you guys have probably never heard before, from me at least. I think Arizona State's going to look better on the field physically. I think they're going to play better on the field. I think they're going to overcome the injury bug. And I think they are going to silence Eugene. Oregon's struggling this year. Eugene's still going to be rocking. And I think they are going to be silenced after Saturday. I'm going to go with the Sun Devils.
I'm with you on that. Both teams have really been struggling as of late, but I think the Sun Devils find a way to bounce back and take this game.
As of now, because is Dylan Sterling Cole going to be our starting quarterback?
There's no talk about that. I actually read this today that Manny Wilkins, on a Tuesday practice, has been wearing tennis shoes, not cleats, but has been going through every single drill, has been in a green no-contact jersey during practice. He's been going through every drill, but hasn't been going through full-speed team drills, which he's been doing that for the last 2 weeks, actually. So he's still getting up to speed. His throwing's been fine, according to what I've read and what I've seen. So there isn't a true set on starter yet, but I'm guessing it will be Manny Wilkins.
They said that he was supposed to come back into the game. He threw some passes on the sideline, said that he didn't feel 100%, but that he felt well enough to get out on the field, but they decided to go with Sterling Cole.
He also said, and I overheard on the sidelines of this game, in talking to Todd Graham, he was talking to Todd Graham personally. He still had all of his pads on throughout the entire game, had his helmet in his hand, was ready to go,
Yeah.
and told Todd Graham in the fourth quarter, if you need me to run
Yes.
a QB sneak or a QB draw, I can do that for you.
Yeah. The thing that I did like, though, of course, I hated seeing Salamo Fiso go down, but he did run out onto the field to make sure that he was okay. So I did like seeing that when Fiso went down.
He's been practicing at full speed as well this week.
Fiso,
Not
that's
going to
good.
lie. Even if their quarterback situation is solved, I think Oregon's going to take this.
Boom! It's pronounced Oregon.
There are so many problems with Arizona State right now that come outside of the injuries.
Oh, yeah.
As bad as a team as the Ducks are, I think they're going to be able to exploit them, and Oregon is going to take the dub.
I'm ready to chime in on this one because I have a lot to say. When I found out about this game months and months ago that we are going to be at Oregon, I was automatically chalking this up as a loss. I was talking with my friend who goes to Oregon, and he was like, yeah, we're going to destroy you when you come out here. It's going to be bad, blah, blah, blah. And I was expecting that. Arizona State had a great start to the season this year, but let's be real. We could easily have maybe 2 or 3 wins because these wins we've had have been very close. Our fourth quarter has been great, but we've been riding that thin line all season. Oregon, their record is terrible. They barely lost to a very good Nebraska team, which everyone forgets about. Oregon had that lead with about 2 minutes left in the game, and then their defense let them score. So they could have easily won at Nebraska. Last week, I think it was maybe double overtime or single overtime. They lost to Cal by 3. And I think there was another game earlier in the year that Oregon barely lost to. Oregon is a terrible team, without a doubt. Their defense is garbage. But Arizona State is a very, very scary 5-3, and not the good kind of scary, the bad kind of scary.
Oregon's also lost 5 straight games.
They've lost 5 straight, but like I said, a lot of these losses, aside from the Washington State game, have been close. Therefore,
The Washington game, you mean?
the Washington and
Washington State.
those were 2 games, kind of very.
All
rough.
3 of their other losses. All 3 of their other losses were by 3 points each.
There you go. So, if Sterling Cole is playing this game,
It's a loss.
we do not stand a chance. With Manny Wilkins playing, they do stand a better chance. The forecast for this game is pouring rain. I think that's advantage Oregon. Well, as of a day or 2 ago, that's what my iPhone weather app said. Pouring rain. I think that Oregon gets this win, and I don't think it's going to be close. I hate to say it. I like as Josh said, prove me wrong, but I think Oregon gets this dub. I think that they've been close the last few weeks for getting this statement victory, but I think this is the week where they finally figured out and get it done. Unfortunately, that wraps up this week's show. Episode 5 has come and gone, boys.
But wait!
There's more. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. As I do. That was. And Manny Wilkins himself has made an appearance in the studio. Manny, how are you this evening? I'm kidding. That's just an audio on Brady's computer. Every week, we ask the viewers to give Spencer some teams he can become newest fans of. Because as we know, Spencer is a huge bandwagon fan, but we all still love him. Spencer, who are you a fan of this
All right,
week?
to start off with, I said either last week or 2 weeks ago that I was a fan of the Prattville Swim League Sea Lions.
I remember that. Go Lions.
And they were going to state, and the outcome was, you bet your bottom dollar, they won.
Woohoo! Way to go,
So
Sea
congrats to
Lions.
them. Congrats to Cooper Womack.
What a feeling that must be.
Shut up, Lyle.
Lyle won state.
Lyle got his ring
Anyway,
the other day.
Who are your other teams, Spencer? Congrats though
Let's
to
see.
the Sea Lions.
Congrats, Cooper.
One more round of applause for him, guys. I like that.
And I'm going to start off with,
How many did you get?
I got
This-
2 this week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So my boy Nathan Allison, he gave me the team of Grambling State.
Woo.
Really?
Grambling State.
Grambling State.
Almost beat U of A.
Friends-
We're all Grambling State fans.
Friends with their quarterback. Shout out to them. Who else we got?
Nice. And I got the this is from Dogs Dynasty. I had a good conversation with him.
Ah, nice.
I'm going to be the Bowdoin Polar Bears of D3 football.
Ooh, the Polar Bears. I like
Check
it.
the logo.
I like the logo.
That's
Wow.
icy.
Gotta be a default.
That's a very good logo.
Five, all right.
I
But
like
if
this.
you have a team out there
Gotta
that
be a
you would
DePaul
love
Tigers
to have
fan,
Spencer root for, you can hit him up on Instagram, hit him up on Twitter. His DMs are open 24/7, so let him know who the next team will be.
I
Spencer,
love this.
Spencer, I'm not going to DM you, but I'm just going to tell you right now, since we're sitting next to each other, I would like to propose that you become an El Camino Real Conquistadors fan. They're facing Birmingham today. That's where my parents went, defending league champs. If they win, I believe they clinch the league title for the first time ever.
I'm going to say no,
You should become
only
a Carmel-
because you requested it.
You should become a Carmel Greyhounds fan. We play in sectionals against HS Easy this
You
week.
can be a fan of my high school too, Spence. Go
I
Canes.
hate you, Spencer.
Pasadena City College does need an extra fan. They only got about 10 people in the stands. Shout out to my alma mater.
You know what fan I will become of, though?
Who?
Oh, wait, I'm already a fan. Schaumburg High School, represent. Go Saxons.
No one.
What's your mascot?
reacted to that.
Saxons.
What is that?
That is
It's
my
like
Saxons.
it's a Saxon.
Oh,
It's
right,
like-
yeah,
it's like
okay.
it's like a Viking from Europe. I still think conquistadors is better.
Well, that wraps up this week's show. It breaks my heart, but we must come to an end. As always, you can listen to the show on SoundCloud.
How many views does that have?
We have like 100 in total.
That's a good number.
As long as people listen in. We're still trying to get it onto iTunes. I think Brady said he knows how to do that. So we will try our best to get it on iTunes. Spotify, looks like with their terms and whatever, we cannot make that happen because we are not famous enough yet. Keyword yet. One day we will
We should get on Tidal.
Remember, tweet at Zane Gonzalez, por favor.
Everyone, go send Zane Gonzalez a tweet telling him to watch the show. Go show him some love. As always, all of our Twitters are in the bio below. Also, go show Lyle some love. He was talking to me earlier, and he has yet to receive one message from any of the fans, while meanwhile everyone else has. So, Lyle, hopefully the DMs will be swarming with all these dudes messaging you.
Hey, Lyle won
Let's go.
state, guys.
Lyle won
Lyle did
state,
win
so
state.
he's up high right now. Way to go, Lyle. Guys, let's hope for another great week of college football. Let's hope that all of my picks are right and I can retake the throne for the lead because Lyle does not deserve to be at the top. I deserve to be at the top. We'll see about that. Oh, Lyle, don't look so depressed. It's okay, bud.
You know I'm gonna say it, bud.
Oh, I already know. All right, everyone, have a great weekend. Go sports. Go team.
Go Devils.
Lay it go.
High five!
High five. 2, 3. Hey!